Welcome to our video on astrological gardening, full moon in Libra horoscope with astrology planetary archangels and also zodiac angels to magically help your urban or suburban or agricultural project accomplish success. You can feed your family while creating a healthy community environment. As we continue to enter into the grand solar minimum, it becomes more and more important to be able to harvest our food from God's own plentiful earth. Using astrology to increase yield from crops is essential. First, our disclaimer: watching this video or reading this document is an act of spiritual willpower, and any such action is considered magic. High magic should be used with all mindfulness, since powerful forces of manifestation are unleashed. This is intended exclusively for entertainment purposes. I'm Pastor Rosemary, the Astrology Angel. I'm a Rosicrucian seer, biblical astrologer, Christian psychic, and Gnostic mystic. And this is a Readings by Rosemary angelic transmission. Now, the full moon in Libra, the scales, it's going to bring about an affiliation during Luna's portion of a revealed light through a restoration of organizational structures to the scales' sense of balance, particularly regarding seventh house attributes of law and justice and commitment. Now, Libra full moon is a transit that bestows an occasion given towards this lunar phase of a disclosure of universal divine light when it comes to rules, regulations, and a sense of fair play. An equalization of the scales of life is imperative during this moon phase so that everyone can enjoy Mother Nature's ample cornucopia as well as God's generous bounty. Also, the food production, which is a basic human necessity and requires adherence to family rules, neighborhood regulations, and also to community standards. Now, avoid those who would have you thwart what you know to be creatively expressive for your own life. And we must all form our own set of rules and live by them each day. Now, staying true to oneself is vital in this phase of the moon. Lying ground rules for family and or community groups during this event will keep vine yields healthy and succulent, allowing for cultivation of fortification of root crops, pulp development, and sowing seeds that would be used as feed for animals. Stability in nutrition is realized for urban and suburban gardeners and farmers when a full moon in Libra the scales lunar phase establishes a balanced amount of calories for each food group included in meals, mindfully prepared for family and friends, as well as also being able to contribute to your neighborhood and community coffers for like food banks, that kind of thing. Okay, now I know that most of the time they give canned food for food banks, but there are some new programs that you'll see around where they're able to take fresh produce at some farmers markets for people who need that kind of help. Now growing quality edible gardens and quality community agricultural projects is going to be more important, and it's a very healthy and it's a very pleasurable vocation which will charm visitors, especially when many of Earth's ancient cultural traditions are preserved and restored, allowing for growers to be congruent with their spiritual expression as it pertains to their genetic heritage of food production. Power is unleashed when one celebrates their own heritage and worships their own goddesses and their own gods, keeping alive their ancient languages to activate ancient and powerful knowledge that's locked inside of our religious and racial DNA. Now, becoming reacquainted with personal cultural customs regarding where, how, and what crops to grow are essential themes worth revisiting during this transit. Justice and fair play are learned and realized while sowing, dividing, and relocating crops in preparation for a surplus of precipitation and increasingly chilly weather. So basically, you're not going to be able to have the power available for your own personal magic and your own personal power if you don't use the gods and goddesses and the languages that go with your own DNA, or the largest portion of your DNA. And of course, if you have other portions of your DNA, you can utilize those too. But it's really important that you be allowed to use your own culture, your own gods and goddesses, your own traditions if you want to be powerful. Taking that thing away from anybody is something that depletes their power. Now, there is no better classroom to teach any of us anything than Mother Nature herself, to which she is the best, and she is the best instructor, and she is the best teacher of action and consequence and cause and effect, as well as learning how to best get along with friends, family, and social groups for reason of helping to form common goals and outcomes when it comes to spawning edible yields. Essential tools needed to grow, transplant, and divide produce is able to be obtained through allocation or procurement. Now, a lucrative list of good suppliers, growers, and distributors of eatable crops and gardening or farming tools allows for preparedness while in the midst of changing environmental, social, and financial global conditions, all due to Mother Nature's cycles and systems of her own special brand of justice. Gathering information about sundry ancient ancestral cultures and religious groups and religions and spiritual systems, primarily in regards to agricultural goddesses and gods from varied civilizations and spiritual traditions, is required now more than ever. When ancient agricultural religions and societal systems are studied, it becomes clear that we find many more similarity among agricultural goddesses and gods rather than noticing differences between them. Each culture is found most often to have its own rigorous astrological calendar, clock, sundial, or other time regulator mechanisms with which seasonal environments are precisely calculated, allowing culturally diverse animal breeding businesses and agricultural endeavors to flourish and to really profit during this time. These ideas are above all necessary during a grand solar minimum, such as the one in which we now find ourselves. During a full moon lunar cycle, urban and suburban gardeners will profit from amplified energy being directed towards the roots of any produce that you have selected to nurture. This moon phase grants gravitational pull upon any water in the soil, although Luna is beginning her descent during a full moon, so her moonlight is excellent for cultivating bulb and root type crops like radishes, carrots, potatoes, rutabagas, and turnips. Full moon lunar phase is plentiful for planting biennials and perennials, trees and shrubs, or performing transplantation of chosen crops as the urban or suburban gardener or farmer gets down to the root of engendering a healthy growth. This is due to a waning moon from a full moon to new moon. It is essential to be aware that if one desires to exploit Luna's most ample moonlight, in addition to having abundant amounts of water, one should plant 48 hours before a full moon phase using seeds of beans, melons, peas, peppers, squash, and also tomatoes. Now, water in the earth will be pulled up by the moon, just like her influence over ocean tides. Although full moons have a more powerful gravitational pull, you may also take benefit from a new moon, which, while possessing much less moonlight, is helpful for cruciferous vegetables, lettuce, celery, spinach, or cabbage type of plants, due to the fact that a new moon also causes a weather situation where there's going to be sort of a wealth of water, and a wealth of water that's going to be made available in the soil for growth of these varietals of produce during this particular portion now of the phase. Now, periods of rest are equally important, and therefore at least 48 hours before the new moon is a good phase for fertilization, cultivating, harvesting, transplanting, relocating, or pruning of crops. Now, this is due to waning gravitational effects as well as declining moonlight. All phases of life are important, And so the urban or suburban gardener needs to work within all of Mother Nature's spells. You have to have periods of growth and periods of rest, or else things are not really able to be healthy. You have to be able to allow for efficiency and allow for things to recuperate, and there has to be, you know, a way to rotate different portions of the land. You can't just keep expecting something to just keep going and going and going. You have to let things rest. Okay? Now, a full moon in Libra is what we're going to talk about for the focus that is happening when, due to Libra being an air sign and masculine or yang in nature, okay, this is when urban or suburban gardeners should eat edible flowers, such as should plant, but these are edible flowers. You can eat some flowers are possible to be eaten, okay? Like orchids, you can eat orchids. But the kind of plant that you should focus on during the full moon in Libra is flowers such as hibiscus, roses, and lavender, which again, they are good for planting during this time. So we're talking about a full moon there in the sign of Libra, the scales. Okay? All right. Now, also a ripening of fruits or vegetables may be eaten newly plucked during this lunar phase if a bright moon in the sign of the scales, being freshly breezy in nature, moist and masculine. Libra is a somewhat fruitful, being particularly beneficial for making plant structures such as roots sturdy and well formed. Therefore, during a full moon cycle in Libra, be elegant and be creative about what edible flowers you plant, because Libra is ruled by the planet Venus, who is goddess of love in ancient Rome and who was associated with Aphrodite in ancient Greek legend. Wait for a waning moon phase in Libra to plant edible and beautiful thundercloud flowering plum trees, bare root red mulberry trees, or red gem gomi shrubbery. This is also an excellent occasion for dividing asparagus, garlic, horseradish, raspberry, or blueberry crops during a waning moon phase in the sign of the scales lunar cycle. Now, urban and suburban gardeners must wait until a new moon in Libra lunar phase to plant edible herbs like mint, parsley, rosemary. Also, you can also plant dragon fruit, and you can also plant basil or oregano and chives. Well, actually, a new moon is better just for the mint, parsley, basil, rosemary, oregano, dill, and chives. Now, you really should wait for a waxing moon, for dragon fruit. Okay, so a waxing moon in the sign of Libra is excellent for planting like kiwi and tomatoes and passion fruit and watermelon or cantaloupe, honeydew melon, grapes, blueberries, raspberries, and the dragon fruit. Okay, so also this is a wonderful time to relocate these same crops during a waxing moon phase in the sign of the scales. Now, Libra the scales is yang in nature, and that's going to make it a happening of brisk, damp, and perfumed and masculine energy, being a cardinal air sign, and that's going to be generating frequencies of fire of air regarding elemental associations. Due to the elaborate nature of Libra's yang, ornate, and masculine energies, it is also a lunar transit when urban and suburban gardeners are able to plant edible flowers, especially roses, because Libra is ruled by Venus, the planet Venus, and in fact, this is the daytime abode of this planet of love. So Libra is a daytime abode of Venus. Now, in fact, the Kabbalistic correspondence for the planet Venus is the Sephirah of Netzach in Kabbalah, in which we find the rose as the corresponding flower. Roses are exceptional flowers to plant during most of lunar sojourn through the sign of Libra the scales. Elements such as Sylph Sévère and also are active at this happening, because, you know, it's an air sign, Okay, so Libra's an air sign, so sylphs of air are going to be very active. And you have to balance them with the gnomes of earth, the undines of water, and the salamanders of fire. Now remember that each quality is a necessary attribute of life in Mother Nature's great plan. Now planetary archangel Gabriel rules over Luna, although on a full moon, expressing projection and expansion of lunar energy frequencies which can be used for healing. Now Archangel Gabriel is represented by the Merkaba field. Mer meaning rotating fields of light, Ka meaning spirit, and Ba meaning soul. This is a three-dimensional representation of the water Merkaba field, or the water archangel, the elemental archangel of water, who is Gabriel, who is also the planetary archangel of the moon. Okay, so this is for Gabriel. Okay, so remember, planetary archangel Gabriel rules over Luna, although on a full moon, expressing projection and expansion of lunar energy frequencies which can be used for healing purposes. Now, Libra is ruled by the planet Venus, as we said. Now, being the daytime habitation of this Venusian orb. Okay, in the nighttime it's Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. Okay, but in the daytime it's Libra, and therefore influences of the elemental archangel of air Raphael, who rules over all of the air signs. Raphael rules over all the air signs, but and Libra is an air sign, is cardinal air. This is a favorable angel to evoke during this lunar transit. Remember, evoke means to call upon, invoke means to call in, and invoke means to call into your sacred circle. Like when actors and actresses and even musicians take on God forms, they invoke that God or goddess, angel, whatever, into their being. Okay? All right. Now, this is the Merkaba field of the elemental archangel of air, who is Raphael. Now, Raphael is also the planetary angel of Mercury, but for now we're talking about Venus is the planet, but we're not talking about the planet Mercury. We're talking about the fact that Libra is an air sign, cardinal air, fire of air. So therefore, Libra would have an elemental Merkaba field of the archangel of air, the elemental archangel of air, Raphael. This is the air Merkaba field for air signs. Okay, so that's how that. And interesting that the planet Venus and the planet Mercury are the morning stars. Okay, all right. Now the planetary archangel of Venus is Anael, and so this archangel is also advantageous to evoke, affording the sorceress or the sorcerer immense power during a full moon in the sign of Libra, the scales. Since Venus rules over Libra, it's important for planting magic to invoke to invoke a Venusian zodiac facet known as the attribute of God, the morning star, which we just mentioned, found in Revelation chapter 22, verse 16 in the Douay-Rheims Bible. I, Jesus, have sent my angel to testify to you these things in the churches. I am the root and stock of David, the bright and morning star. Now, the zodiac angel Zuriel is the zodiac angel who rules over Libra, the scales astrology sign. And speaking of the full moon, we turn to Song of Solomon, chapter 6, verse 10 in the Webster Bible translation. Who is she that looketh forth as the morning, fair as the moon, clear as the sun, and terrible as an army with banners? Information found in this document is based on the oral tradition known as Kabbalah, taught to me by Rosicrucian clergy when I was but a young girl, the facts of which I have committed to memory. Thank you for joining us, and please join us again.